early on in this year. I know we've already sort of penciled in.
Okay, day traders. And now I want to talk about the art of day trading. As you can see, I pointed out the positions we hold for British pound. We have two long positions at 137.639 and 138.272, and one short position. I'm placing an order to sell all three positions at the price 137.96. All these three positions I want to sell at this price. Okay, so what's going to happen? I'm going to end up even at these two positions long, because these two positions will end up at zero, and I will make profit on short position. All this information you can find from our strategy, and we'll explain everything how it works. And if you want to trade like this, you need to get the strategy. Okay, so stay safe. I'll speak to you later, and let's see. As soon as it will reach this level, I will calculate the profit. If you're already into these positions, broker will send you straight away your profit on these three positions. Okay? Stay safe, and I'll speak to you later, guys.
A strategy refresh from Citigroup and the new CEO, Jane Fraser, to exit retail banking in 13 markets across Asia and Europe. And there's a beat to talk about in the numbers themselves, Tom, but I know that headline caught your eye.
Well, so by August 18th, we were back in record high territory, which was the third.
Okay, guys, as you can see, position closed on British pound. All three positions were closed. I will show you how much profit and loss we gained from trading British pound. At the end of the day, we received already confirmation from our broker that we have profit 2,800 pounds. Okay, so all of you guys who follow trades, it's worth it. We hold it for about a week, as far as I remember, and well done. For all newbies, new traders who never traded before, you probably right now discovered the secret how to day trade. Good for you guys. The other guys who already using our strategy and knows how to trade with our strategy, great. Let's move on. Let's not concentrate on one winning. Let's get lots of winnings for today. Okay, I'll speak to you later next time when I will see some new chance, new opportunity to that will arrive to trade. Okay, stay safe. Well done. Good trade, guys.
The president has made a big push domestically over the US economy, and you rightly pointed out earlier this week, Tom, that foreign policy has come onto the radar in a much bigger way in the last couple of days.
The complexities of this are not just the Bloomberg world of finance. This is of international relations, and folks, you've got to believe a response out of Russia, and of course that could center on the tensions in Donbass, the eastern border of Ukraine with Russia. Less the Crimea story, John, and much more what's going on east of Kiev.
Not a major move in dollar ruble, but you see one. Dollar ruble up by 1.7%. The dollar ruble pair right now, Tom, with a 77 handle.
Yeah, I would say there. Now, you look at it three ways, John. You look at dollar ruble. You also look at euro ruble with that geographic proximity. And then the pros at Bloomberg use a basket of currencies against ruble. I usually go to dollar ruble within the media, but nevertheless, that's where we are. Just because of news flow, we have to say thank you to Sam Stovall. Too short a visit with a gentleman from CFRA, and we'll do it again. Their chief investment strategist here with Dow, 33,786. John, the Dow up 162 points.
You're just trying to wind me up.
Got
NASDAQ 100 futures up by about 0.8%, Tom. S&P 500 futures up by 0.6%. Talked a lot about foreign policy. We'll do more on the economy in just a moment. In about 20 minutes' time, Tom, retail sales in America. But we need to continue to digest and process Jane Fraser over at Citi making a move early in her tenure at the top of that bank.
Let's do this. Shanali Basak, one question, and then we'll go to Gerard Cassidy. Shanali, your observation as you study these earnings.
20.1% return on tangible equity. Jane Fraser just, knocked it out of the park in her first quarter. And 4.5 in terms of 4.5 billion in fixed income, makes it right behind JP Morgan.
Is there a tone?
Number 2.
Is there a different tone in the presentation than we saw from Mr. Corbett and his team?
There is. There's a tone of somebody who wants to show that she's coming in swinging. And so she's, you know, the first out of the gate, 13 markets gone. She says we don't have the scale we need to compete.
Let's go to Gerard Cassidy with decades of expert. He always comes in swinging into the lobster restaurants of Portland, Maine. He's with RBC Capital Markets. Gerard Cassidy, I want to go to cost and geographic reduction as expense control. When you give up on retail in Vietnam and in Bahrain, is that nothing more than a closeted cost reduction?
Tom, I think it is. And when you take a look at the markets that they're exiting, the numbers that they have provided really do not have a material impact to the bottom line. Now, you might recall some years back, they exited a handful of these consumer markets, and they obviously didn't go all the way. And Jane Fraser, with her first strategic move, is trying to make the company more profitable by exiting these markets where they really don't earn very much money.
Gerard, what's left? What's more to do?
It's going to be interesting because this has been the one area that of focus for many investors, that they needed to really trim down their global footprint on the consumer side. They just didn't have the scale in certain markets. So then the next question is, you know, how do you build up scale in the United States? When you take a look at two of their biggest peers, JP Morgan Chase and Bank of America, their consumer banking franchises in the United States have return on equities, a return on tangible common equities of over 30%. Citi does not match that number. So Citi will have to take a look at how do we get bigger in the U.S.
Gerard, we asked this question of Shanali, and she answered it delicately, and you can answer it a little bit more aggressively, I imagine, because here at Bloomberg, we have to be slightly diplomatic, of course. But do you see this as a big change from Corbett to Fraser?
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, she indicated on the last call when she participated in the fourth quarter earnings call that there were changes coming, and we expect to hear more guidelines on new targeted return numbers, what they're going to expect to be able to achieve with these strategic changes. You know, Citi has a lot of work to do, a lot of heavy lifting, but now with the new leadership under Jane Fraser, I think they're going to be able to accomplish new and better numbers for shareholders.
Gerard, so far, who's winning in the capital market space? I mean, all of them have been beating across the board, and people have been talking about the frothy markets, but who's winning?
It looks like so far, when you compare all the numbers, Goldman Sachs came out on top in almost all the different categories, whether it was ECM, DCM, or in trading, in markets for FIC or equity. They seem to have by far the best numbers out of all of them. But to your point, they're all very strong numbers.
And there's a question of how long this can last. And I was looking at a headline about Citigroup's incredible equity trading numbers following on the SPAC-a-palooza, or whatever you want to call it. How long can these trends last to continue supporting their earnings?
It's going to be more challenging as we get into this year, unless we get continued volatility and strength in the markets, and that's hard to predict. But we should understand that the SPAC ECM business, that has started to obviously slow down because a number of the investors in SPACs, they've already allocated the money for that, and there's not as much money to go into SPACs. So now we need to see the de-SPACing. That's when they actually do the mergers. So that's going to be a lift to advisory businesses as we get into the second half of this year.
Gerard Cassidy, we talked to Thomas Schroeder, you know well, from KBW earlier. We reminisced on Bank of New England long ago and far away, the ultimate roll-ups that you were directly involved in. Do you presume another season of roll-ups because of the technological superiority of these winners?
Tom, I think you're right. We are going to see more consolidation. It's already started to pick up. As you might recall, Tom, when you and I were young men, we had 18,000 banks in the early 1980s. Today, we're down at 5,100. We expect continued roll-ups or consolidation to continue over the next 2 to 3 years, and it will be small community banks like Provident acquiring SB1 last year out of New Jersey, but also the big deals like we saw with M&T acquiring People's Bank of Connecticut. So we're going to see big regional deals, we believe, over the next 2 to 3 years, and the Canadians will likely get stronger in the U.S. as Toronto Dominion has indicated they want to get bigger in the U.S.
Gerard, you're so gracious with your time on mornings like this morning. Can I